What's up guys, it's Nathan from Tattooing 101 and today we're going to be taking a look at the P3 Pro tattoo machine from Easy Tattoo Supply. We are going to be giving this machine away at the end of the review. Subscribe to the channel, write down what style of tattooing that you like doing, and then that's it, you're in the giveaway. Now, Brandon actually used the original model. The P3 Pro was having a little bit of trouble pushing really big liners because he mostly does a lot of trad stuff and uses a direct drive. But different artists like different machines, so I still wanted to give this machine a try, and we'll also try out some lines just to see if there's any improvements. That said, this machine definitely does seem to be more geared towards doing realism, so we're going to be doing some realistic tattoos with it as well, and just seeing how it goes for you black and gray artists out there. Now, there are a bunch of new features that the Touch model has that the P3 Pro original model doesn't have, such as a stronger battery, dot mode, which I'm really interested to try. Apparently this machine can hit at 1 dot per second, which is going to be very interesting to use. It also has kickstart mode, so if you're tattooing at a very low voltage, you just need a bit of a jump to get the machine running. It's really great for that. And of course, a touch screen. Now, I'm not sure how that's going to go when the machine is wrapped up, but we're going to take a look. Now, this machine is a little bit bigger and heavier than the previous model, but it does still seem quite beginner friendly. It's got an adjustable stroke and just one button to turn the machine on and off. So let's open this thing up and take a look. Okay, so just open the box. Comes with a user guide. Just shows you how to use the kickstart and the dot mode. Now we've got the machine. That is heavy, wow. Out of all the pen machines I've ever used, that is by far the heaviest pen machine so far. And we can see that it's got multiple adjusting stroke. It is very smooth when you adjust the stroke. When you're adjusting the stroke on like a Dragon Hawk, it kind of clicks a bit, but this is really nice and slick, which is cool. Got the grip that we can click and adjust the depth. Again, super slick and super smooth. When you adjust the grip, it does move the stroke, so you just have to hold the middle of the machine when you're adjusting the depth of your needle, so something to look out for. And yeah, you can really see how the stroke goes from a 4.2 all the way down to a 2mm stroke. So this is definitely geared more towards fine line, black and gray type stuff. I've never really gone below a 3mm stroke. These days I don't really go below a 4.2, but interesting to see how that plays out when we start doing some realism stuff with it. It does have a really large grip as well, which I actually like because some machines, the grips on them are a little bit shorter than the width of the grip tape that I use. So then it kind of overlaps onto the part of the machine that twists either to change the depth or the stroke, and then it gets really hard to adjust when the machine's wrapped up and you're using it. So yeah, I really like that it's got a nice long grip. So it's got a USB-C port for charging. This one does come with a spare battery. I've seen a couple of reviews of this machine not coming with a spare battery, so I guess they gave me the upgraded one with an extra battery, which is cool. So if you look on the Easy Tattoo Supply website, this machine sells for $259. If you get the upgraded version with the extra battery, then it jumps up to $339. Which is still quite affordable for a starter machine. It's not a bad deal. So the battery is quite heavy. Yeah, you can really feel the weight in these batteries. I do like a machine where all the weight is concentrated in my hand as opposed to having a little bit off, but it doesn't feel too uncomfortable. Like I can see how I'll be able to use this, but it's just gonna be a little bit of an adjustment for what I normally use. Now, with the heavier weight of the machine as well as the battery, I have medium-sized hands, like the gloves that I use are mediums. I don't think it's really gonna be an issue. It's gonna be a little bit of an adjustment when I use it, but if maybe you have like really tiny hands, or you haven't kind of built up that hand strength yet when you're just getting started in tattooing, could just take a little bit of getting used to. Yeah, so underneath the machine, I've just got the charging cord. So it's a USB, you can plug this into a laptop or like an outlet on the wall, and that'll charge really nicely. It doesn't come with like a wall plug, so you're just gonna have to plug it into something that is electronic that has a USB port to charge the machine. And that's it, that's everything that's in the box. Yeah, so quite a simple setup. Now, according to the manual, the charging time is 2.5 hours, which is really fast. It doesn't take long to charge at all. Still though, I would recommend getting the extra battery because there's nothing more annoying than forgetting to charge your machine overnight or before your appointment, and then client comes in and you have to make them wait around for 2.5 hours just so that you can turn on your machine. The charge in the battery is 6 hours, so it's pretty much good for a full day session. I don't know how that goes depending on the voltage. Like obviously if you use a lower voltage when you tattoo, then that's going to last a little bit longer, whereas if you run the machine a bit harder, then it's going to run out a little bit faster. Cool, so let's take off the grip and have a look under the hood. So you can see the machine's already oiled up. It comes in some sort of slimy sort of lubricant, so that's good to know. And the battery, it is a bit sticky when you take the battery off. You've got to like kind of really pull it, but that's what the machine looks like when you pull it apart. All you got to do to change the stroke, you just hold this shiny black part and then twist that, and then that will change your stroke. Very curious to see what a 2mm stroke is like. I don't really go below a 3 like I said before. And also whether such a really short stroke machine can push bigger needles in the skin like a 23 mag. I'd be very interested to see how that goes. So just turning the machine on, we can see that it comes basically fully charged. I've got gloves on right now. The touch screen is working just fine. We'll see how that goes when I've got a wrap on it as well. If you swipe down and then hold your finger, the voltage goes down automatically. So I have seen other videos where when people are trying to turn down the volts, they're just like going like that, but you can just move your finger down once, hold it there, or move your finger up once and then hold it there until the machine gets to the desired volts that you want it at. So I'll just pop a needle cartridge in so you guys can see how the depth adjustment with this one goes. And the needles I'm using E-Select to go along with the machine, so I'm gonna be using those for the tattoo a little bit later on as well. I've got it on a 4.2mm stroke right now, so it's gonna move pretty far in each up and down cycle. So this is actually a really good opportunity to show you guys the difference between depth and stroke, right? So right now I've got it on a 4.2mm stroke. I've set the depth as much as I can hang it out. You can just see the needle is going past the tip of the cartridge, so it is fully retracting. When I hit the needle, you can see how far out the needle is going. When I change the stroke and I bring it all the way down to a 2, I haven't changed the depth at all. And you can see the needle comes out a lot less far. The stroke is just the distance that the needle travels in each up and down cycle, whereas the depth is just how far out of the cartridge the needle is hanging. So if you look at the screen, the big numbers there, we've got the voltage. So right now I've got it on 5.4 volts. Turn that up to say like 6.5. If I'm going to do line work with it on a 4.2 stroke, I'll probably have it at like a 7. At the very top, you can see that it's got the battery life on it, and there's also a little option that's supposed to appear in the top right of like a Bluetooth pairing icon. You can pair this machine with a phone, iPad, or like a foot pedal, but no one's really going to be using for that. I know I wouldn't. Just when I'm using a pen machine, the whole reason that I use that is that I don't have any wires and I can just press the button and start it. So I think that's kind of a bit of an unnecessary feature, making it Bluetooth compatible, but they do have it. So I do like how the screen has really nice big reading on the voltage. It just makes it super easy to see. Once I've got the wrap over the top of it, you get a little bit obscured. So having that big and bold, it's just really easy to tell how fast your machine is running. So the machine goes all the way up to 12 volt. Now that sounds absolutely gnarly. I would never run the machine that high. I don't usually go past an 8, and it goes all the way down to a 4. Yeah, it's a little bit awkward. I kind of like having the buttons more where I can just press it and just hold it and then it goes all the way down. So when you double click the machine, it switches between normal mode and also dot mode. You can see that it goes up to 10 Hertz at the max because it's doing like individual dots, and you can go all the way down to 1 Hertz and it's just hitting once per second, which is wild. I don't know of any other machines that can do that. Now, if you swipe to the left, I'm entering Hertz mode, and the cool thing is I can see the voltage at the same time that I can see the Hertz mode. So this is really good of a machine to you to get more familiar with Hertz, because a lot more machines are going to start implementing that in the future. So you can see what your normal voltage would be. If you tattoo at a 7.5, you can see what that is in Hertz, and then you can replicate that by just looking at the Hertz, or if another machine only uses Hertz, you'll know exactly what to use. It's a really good way of just getting used to using Hertz when you're tattooing. Yeah, when you're in Hertz mode, it's the same thing. You just scroll up and down and it changes the amount of Hertz that you got, and you can see the voltage alongside it as well. Now, I don't have the original P3 Pro model on me, but I have seen online that you can actually put this battery on the old P3 Pro version as well, and then it enables you to have dot mode and just has a more powerful battery on it. So it's going to last longer, it's going to allow you to do longer sessions, and it's compatible with the older model as well. But, if you're getting a new machine, or if it's your first machine, I'd say you might as well get the updated one if you're choosing between the two, because if it's got more features, then why not get the upgraded version? So I just put a couple other machines that I use right next to the Touch Pro, and you can really see how much bigger it is than most other machines. And when you hold it, it is quite long. It sticks out of your hand quite a fair bit. Compared to Bishop, you barely see it above your hand, but this one hangs out quite far. Now, it is significantly heavier as well. So again, if you do have smaller hands, this might take a little bit of getting used to. I don't think it's going to be a problem, but it's definitely a bit of a change from what I normally use. When I'm holding the machine, I can feel like a little bit of weight. It does kind of want to tug back a little bit. It's not that bad, but yeah, we'll see how it runs. Could even be a good thing. Like when you're lining, having a heavier machine can help you keep the machine more steady. So keen to give it a run. It's definitely a very heavy machine. Like I said before, I'm curious to see how it runs. I'm glad that I was able to put like a really fat grip around it, because it just feels a lot more comfortable in my hand once I've got like that extra padding. So let's do some lines, see how it goes, and I'll let you guys know. We'll put it on 7.5 volts. I'm using a 12 gauge 7 round shader for my lines. So the machine is very quiet, like it hums very softly when you're tattooing with it. I'm already starting to feel like a little bit of hand fatigue. I'm definitely not used to such a heavy machine. It is lining quite nicely, like it hits the skin very softly. It's not having any trouble pushing in a 7 round shader. I'd be interested to see how it goes for like the really thick needles, but let's keep going. So I'm finding that when I'm tattooing this machine, when I have the machine resting on my hand, it's nice and comfortable. But as soon as I have it like resting outside of my hand or like towards the front of my hand, it takes a lot of grip strength to kind of keep the machine nice and steady. Whereas when I have it resting against the back of my hand and I'm moving lines and gliding backwards, it feels really nice, but I do get fatigued quite quickly when I'm holding and pulling lines towards myself. To get those nice thick lines, I'm using the round shader. I'm using the VS Select needles that came with the machine as well. Izzy was kind enough to throw us some needles too. So that's what we're using for this tattoo. So while I'm tattooing this design, you might have noticed that I line from a bunch of different angles. This is something that you're gonna have to get used to when you start tattooing actual people, because unlike a piece of fake skin that you can just rotate and turn and move around, with people you can't really snap their arm and move them into a position that's always comfortable when you're doing line work on someone. Now, if line work is something that you struggle with, we've just completely updated the line work modules inside of the Artist Accelerator, where I show you everything from A to Z when it comes to how to tattoo lines, not just on fake skin, but also on human skin as well. If that's something that you're interested in, I'll leave a link down in the description below so you can check it out. Okay, so we're basically done with the outline. Now, in terms of how this machine went with the lining, I found it fine with getting smaller liners into the skin. I usually use a 5mm stroke when I'm lining, so I had to move a little bit slower, which is something I'm not quite used to. I found it very comfortable when I was moving backwards because all of the weight was resting on my hand. However, when I had to hold the machine like this to pull lines towards myself, I definitely find that I got fatigued quite quickly. But with the 7 round shader, it put those in really, really nicely. When it comes to using a larger liner, I had a bit of a go with a 14 liner as well. It does get the lines in the skin. You just kind of have to take your time a little bit with it because it doesn't have as much kick as a direct drive, but it still gets the needles in there just fine. You just kind of have to change the way that you tattoo. So it can still do it, but yeah, it's just slightly different. Okay, so now onto the dot work mode. We're on 3 Hertz at the moment. We're gonna crank that up to about 10 Hertz, and we'll just kind of slowly bring it down just to kind of see what it's like and how those dots are going in the skin. So right now I'm just using like a whip shading motion and I'm just whipping out my dots. And I can definitely tell like it's getting like a textured effect. Cool, so you can see that's nice and textured there. We're gonna turn this Hertz mode down a little bit and just kind of play with it. So we've got this on 5 Hertz, so this is even a little bit slower. So it's an interesting technique. When you turn down the voltage or the Hertz really, really low to 5 Hertz, I'm literally just as if I was lining on the skin, or not even lining, but like I'm not pendulum shading or whip shading like I would if I was stippling. I'm just moving the needle back and forth, but it's quite slow. Like I have to move my hand really, really slow. I'm gonna turn that up a little bit because I like to go a little faster. Turn that back up to 10. So with the dot mode as well, if you move too quickly, because the needle's going so slow, it tends to catch a little bit in the skin. So you just got to be really mindful of depth control. And slow is fast. The slower I move, the quicker it saturates. Again, I'm just moving back and forth, not pendulum shading. I'm not arcing in or out of the skin. I'm just moving the needle back and forth and letting the needle do all the dots for me. It's quite a new way of tattooing. It's like the slower I go, the faster it saturates and the quicker I can kind of tattoo by moving slower, which is unusual. And then when I want to just do like a little bit of light shading to kind of blend it out, I just got it very easy on the depth. I'm just kind of scraping the top of the skin. Again, not arcing out or into the skin, just moving the needle back and forth. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but I think it is a cool effect. Like you can really see it's got some cool textures that are coming out of it. I'd love to try this for some realism stuff as well. I think you get like some really awesome textures as opposed to just using it for literally just dot work. I'm just kind of playing a little bit around with some textures and stuff like that inside. It's very easy to create texture with. You don't even really have to think about it. You kind of just move it over the skin and the patterns and like the depth just sort of appears on its own. I think you could do some very cool styles with a machine like this. One other cool thing to think about too is when you're using the dot mode, because it's penetrating the skin so little, like it's really causing minimal trauma to the skin. So you can do lots and lots of layers to get the effects that you're kind of looking for. You can see here how I'm just literally moving the needle back and forth to get these dots. This is something that I think would be really nice for like when you do those fine line kind of flowers, and you want to get like those nice kind of textured leaves, but all the dots are like in unison, like they're all flowing in like kind of a line. It's very quick and efficient. Like I'm kind of getting more and more familiar with it as I go, and you literally just move the machine back and forth. It kind of removes the need to pendulum shade almost, and then you just kind of go a little bit lighter when you want to fade it out. All right, we're gonna pull out the mag, give it a little bit of contrast. So I'm gonna use the dot mode with the mag as well and see what kind of effects I can get with that. So just decided to switch to my round shader for this part. I could hit it with the 15 mag, but it's just faster because smaller needles, so much more maneuverable. Cool, now switching back to the mag. So I'm using the 2mm stroke right now, and it's super, super smooth. It's got a very gentle hit on the skin, and it's just allowing, because I'm not even using any grey wash right now, I'm just using black, and it's just allowing me to put it in very gently, a little bit at a time, gradually building it up. All right, so I've finished with the mandala design, but now I've got another stencil of a realistic rose. So I'm just gonna tattoo that next and kind of see what it's like tattooing something a little bit more realistic with no lines. So we've got a realistic rose that we're gonna do now. I'm gonna have it on 3.3 for most of the tattoo. I don't really see myself kind of moving away from that. Again, normally I use a 4.2 for just about everything else but lining. But since I've got the adjustable stroke, I might as well use it. So I've got a shorter stroke just to make it a little bit easier to get those shades in. Okay, so I just finished up both these pieces. Now with the realism piece that we went through, this realistic rose, it's a couple things, right? When I was tattooing this, I don't usually go lower than a 3.5mm stroke when I'm doing realistic black and gray stuff. But on this one, because it has all of the options, I really kind of pushed it and sort of tested, you know, how that would impact the final result. I went down to a 2.8 and even a 2.4 in some areas to get those really nice, smooth blends. I did notice a difference. The machine hits, like it feels a lot softer and it just goes in a little bit smoother and easier, which I thought was really cool. Do you need to go that low? No, I don't think so, but it definitely makes it a little bit easier, especially if you're just starting out. I did notice though that the weight of the machine made it difficult for me to hit some of the angles that I normally do when I'm, you know, tattooing and just kind of moving around the piece. This is something that I think you would get used to over time, but for me, I normally use a very light machine when I tattoo, so I kind of had like weaker sort of hands and it was just a bit awkward and kind of clunky for me, but this is something that you'll definitely get used to as you use this machine more and more and more. I did notice that when I was adjusting the depth throughout the piece, sometimes you would like double tap the screen, then it goes into dot mode, which is a little bit annoying. It's not hard to fix. You just got to double tap the button and then it goes straight back into normal tattooing mode. But apart from that, no issues. It's able to do smooth black and gray really, really well. Now for the mandala piece that we did, I did run into a couple of challenges when I was putting in the lines. Similar to the P3 Pro that Brandon used, I wasn't a huge fan of it when it came to line work. Again, mainly because of the weight, like tugging and pulling at my hand. I found it hard to get smooth, really crisp lines. I was only using a 7 round shader to put these in and it went in okay, but I can really see like when you start using 14s, 18s and stuff like that, it's really doesn't feel like a machine that's built super well for doing like bold line work. But if you do a lot of fine line stuff or a lot of black work where you don't need those thicker liners, I think it's amazing for that. The Dotwork mode I was really impressed with. At the first I kind of thought would be a bit of a gimmick, but when I was moving back and forth and I was doing these dots on this mandala piece, it was very quick to saturate. I didn't have to do a lot of cross hatching and, you know, pendulum shading to get a nice dispersed kind of dot work effect. I just blasted through it. I was able to very systematically just kind of move the machine back and forth to really fill out this areas quite quickly. I also noticed that it made it very easy to do texture, okay? As I was doing the dot work, I could see tiny little patterns appear that I would normally try and create if I'm doing something that's like really gritty or, you know, like some rock or like a skull or something like that. And once you go in there with a round shade, you can really accentuate some of those little shapes and really make some cool textures. It was very easy to do that when I was using the dot mode. It was kind of effortless to get those shapes to appear. So that's really cool. I like it for smooth black and gray, and I think it's great for doing, black work, stippling, or something that's like, really, really textured. I think it's great for that. The technique is a bit different to how you would normally do dots. Like if I was doing stippling, I'd do like a pendulum motion. But when you use the dot mode, you literally just move the machine back and forth, and you got to slow down so you can get evenly spaced dots. But yeah, I think it's really cool. When you move slow, it does saturate quite quickly and it gives it a really rough, gritty texture, which I think is pretty cool. I used the 2mm stroke when I was shading the center part. I've never actually gone that low on a stroke machine. The lowest I've used is like a 3. And having like a 2mm stroke machine, it hits really soft, and when you go backwards with the machine, it goes in very, very nicely. Like I turn the volts up to 8.5. Do be careful with this though, guys. Like it's quite tempting. You can go in and get everything surgical and super smooth, but if you're only scraping that top layer of the skin, a lot of that ink is gonna fall out and the tattoo is gonna fade as it heals. But the needle still moves a fair distance. Even like a 2mm stroke, you can get the ink in deep enough for it to stay. But yeah, just be mindful. The only ink that's gonna stay is the ink that gets in that second layer of the skin. Now, as for the dot work mode, I definitely would use this on a client, but I wouldn't put the Hertz down all the way to 1. So it goes between 1 and 10 Hertz. When you put it down to 1 Hertz, it does like 1 dot per second. I don't really see a use case for that. The tattoo would just end up taking me a really, really long time to finish, which isn't really ideal for me. But when you crank it up to 10 Hertz, it does go fast enough. You still get a really nice dispersed dot work effect, and you can create some really cool effects with it. I'm pretty sure this is the only machine that you can put the Hertz down that low when you're doing dot work with. So I mean, that's pretty cool, but I don't use it a whole lot by putting the Hertz down lower. I found the higher 10 Hertz to be much more useful when I was doing the dot work. Final thoughts, the pros, I do like the touch screen. It's very easy to just kind of adjust it by moving your thumb up and down on the screen. It was a bit awkward sometimes though, because when you're adjusting like the depth with the grip, you can accidentally tap the screen, then it turns into dot mode. It's easy to fix, you just double tap the on button and it goes straight back. But it did get a little bit annoying at times. Battery life is good. Lots of options with the adjustable stroke. And it's also priced at a really good price point. It's like between $200 and $300. So great buy. I would recommend this machine if you're mainly doing black work and soft black and gray kind of realism type stuff. If you want to do like bold, heavy kind of line work, there's other machines that I'd recommend for that. But for the realism and dot work, this is a great machine. Now, if you're still watching the video, I've got some amazing news for you. We're giving this machine away. We're going to be doing a live call. I'm going to pop the details for that down in the description below. All you have to do to enter the draw to win this machine is just comment what style that you like to tattoo in the comment section down below. And then we will be drawing the winner at random live, and we will be giving this machine away. That's all for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.